Welcome to all. Let us continue with the concepts. Let us see what is recursion. Okay, probably you would have tried this particular concept in a previous semesters, but now we will see in Java how exactly you can implement recursion concept. Okay, recursion in Java is a process in which the method calls itself continuously. Okay, a method in Java that calls itself is called recursive method. So every time if you are putting a particular method in a loop, that is nothing but a recursion, isn't it? Every time if you are calling a same method again and again for a particular work, then you can say such kind of method as a recursion method. Okay, or a recursive method. Okay, it makes the code compact but complex to understand, because see, whenever you go for looping or whenever you go for that particular structure which calls itself, then it is actually easy for the system to process, but it is in the same time it is very difficult for a person to understand, for a particular person to understand, or for a normal person to understand, because it is somewhat different, or it looks somewhat different to digest, because every time if you are passing, if you're calling a particular function for a particular work, or you are passing some parameter to a particular function again and again to get a new value, then it is somewhat difficult to understand. So you can try factorial and Fibonacci series. Okay, for whenever this recursion concept come into picture, usually the code will be for factorial and Fibonacci. So I request everyone to go through those codes and try to execute. If you find any difficulty, then you can get back to me, no issues. But now for explanation, I will take one simple program here, because if you are not understanding the actual concept or basics, then it will be a problem. If you want, I can take some complex programs as well, but I don't know how exactly it will work, or how exactly it will impact on you. Okay, so that is the main problem. Otherwise it is not a big problem, see, because once you understand the concept or the basics, then you can implement any, or you can go to any level or any step. It will not be a problem later. Okay, now you can see the syntax over there. So it is return type followed by method name, and inside the method again you are calling the method name. That means the name of this method is itself method name, and you are calling that method name again and again for the particular work. Then it is a recursive method, or recursion. That is example for recursion. So you can directly jump into the program here. So you have public class recursion example1. So the class name is recursion example1. Inside that you have one static method. Okay, static void p. Okay, now you are going to understand the static concept in the next slide. Okay, what is static, what are static methods, and how exactly they work, we will see one by one. But now you have one method void p, and inside void p what you have SOP, or system.out.println hello. You are going to print hello, and you are calling the p method again. Okay, it is nothing but again and again you will be calling p method. Now you just come to the main function, main method. So inside the main method, what you are going to do, you are just calling p method. That's it. You are not doing anything. Now what happens, the control will go to p method, and it will print hello. Again it will call p method. Again it will print hello. So it goes on. It is nothing but a infinite loop, isn't it? So that is the output. You can see hello, 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 up to stack overflow error. You are going to get the stack overflow error, because this hello will be printed countlessly, because every time you did not put any condition over there to stop. You can go, if you want, you can put the condition. Say if you can go for one flag variable, and when flag becomes 100, stop the recursion or stop the flow. That means at that time 100 times hello will be printed, isn't it? You can do that also. You can restrict the program. See, when you know the idea of writing the program, when you know the syntax to write the program, it is not at all a difficult task to control or to restrict the program flow. That is not a problem at all. So if you want to stop the recursion, you can add one, just you have to add one simple sentence there. So if flag equal to 100, or if flag becomes, or if flag is not equal to 100, run this recursion. When flag becomes 100, come out. Not just 100, any number is fine. Okay, but you have to take one extra variable, flag equal to 0. At the first, in the initial stage, you have to go for flag equal to 0, and after calling before calling p method, you have to just increment flag plus plus. That's it. So you don't need to work much on this, but ultimately recursion means if you are calling a particular method again and again from the same method, then it is called recursion. Okay, now I request you to try factorial and Fibonacci series, how exactly it is working, and just go through it and just try to trace out the program. If you find difficulties, please get back to me. Okay, so this is the example for recursion actually in Java. Now there is a concept of static. Okay, understanding static in Java. So from main method itself you started using this static method, isn't it? So static means it's something like fixed. In general English you are saying static means something fixed, but let us see in depth what you mean by static and how exactly it is working in your Java and why exactly you want to use it. Everything we will see one by one. So static is a keyword. Obviously a role of adding static before any entity is to make that entity a class entity. So if you want to make a particular method as a class entity or a part of class, then you can go for static method. It means that adding static before methods and variables make them a class method and a class variable respectively, instead of instance methods and instance variables. What do you mean by a class method and class variables, and what is the difference between class method and instance method, or class variable and instance variable? See, when we say class method and class variable, when it can be accessed just by using your class name. But when you say instance method and instance variable, so whenever you hear the word instance or term instance, it is by default meant that you should be creating an object for a particular class. So then only you are instantiating, isn't it? That keyword is you probably used in C++ also. Instantiation or instance or instantiate, such kind of terminologies, isn't it? That means whenever you create an object for a particular class, you are making it as an instance. It may be a method or a variable. You are just creating the instance. That means a separate memory space. You are allocating some memory space for each and every variable. But when it is static method or static variable, that means just by using the class name and dot operator, you can access method and variable. That is the difference. That is the only difference. So when you go for static, you don't need to create the object for a particular class to access that particular thing. I'm not saying the entire class can be accessed using just static. If you are using static inside the class, no. Wherever you used static keyword, that variable or method can be accessed from the class using class name dot that particular method name. That's it. You don't need to create the object. That's it. Okay, now hence the static methods and variables can be directly accessed with the help of class, which means that there is no need to create the object. That is the same thing. Okay, now making a static function. So you can see making a static. There is one syntax you see. So it is class GFG. Inside the class you have one static void fun. It's nothing but a function. So you have one static function, or sorry, method. Okay, so inside outside that, what you are going to do, you are directly calling that function method or static func method just by using class name dot that method name. You are not creating the object. This is possible only if you are using static keyword. Okay, now static methods. How exactly you can use the static methods? So when a method is declared with the static keyword, it is known as a static method, as discussed above. So any static member can be accessed before any object of its class are created, and without reference to any object. So that is what I was just trying to say. So you don't need to create the object to call static variable and static methods of that particular class. That is the thing. Okay, now you can see this one example. So methods are declared. Okay, some restrictions are there for this static method. You have to understand this. So they can only call other static methods. Okay, now whenever you declare some static thing, it has to be called only with using the other static methods. Next, they must only access static data. dynamic things cannot be worked out here. Okay, now they cannot refer to this or super in any way. So you cannot go for this keyword or super keyword. So super keyword, definitely I will deal with this super keyword when you go for inheritance concept, but this keyword you already know, isn't it? So this is nothing but whenever, which is the currently accessed object or which is the present object you are dealing with, so that this pointer will be pointing to that particular object. Okay, that is this keyword. In previous video I already uploaded this concept. Okay, so super we will discuss in the upcoming chapters. Okay, now these three are the restrictions. So first one is you have to call only other methods, and you cannot you must be accessing only static data. Next, you cannot refer super or this keyword. Okay, this concept in any manner. Now you can see the example over there. So you have one class called static demo. Inside that you have two variables, or I can say class members. Static int a equal to 42 and static int b equal to 99. That means a will be having the value 42 and b will be having the value 99. And you have one method also, call me method. So static void call me. Now inside the call me you have system.out.println and you are printing the value of a. Okay, now you have one more class, static by name. Inside that you have main method. Inside that what you are going to do, you are not creating an object for static demo class. You are not at all creating any object for static demo class. You are directly using static demo class, class name dot that call me method. You are just directly calling call me method. So 42 will be printed. Now after that what you are going to do, you are using system.out.println b equal to class name dot variable name. That's it. You are not even using object here. You are not even touching the object. You are not at all creating the object. Still you will be able to access the method as well as variable only if you are using static keyword in front of method and variable. That is the main difference. Okay, so whenever you are going for static, you don't need to create the object, remember. But it doesn't mean that, say for example, for this same example, if you have non-static members, then what you have to do? At that time, obviously you have to create the object because you cannot access otherwise. This is possible. These rules are only possible if any variable or any method has the static keyword in it. That's it. Rest of the things should be accessed only via object. Otherwise there is no meaning for class, isn't it? If you're not creating any object to a particular class is meaningless. But when you have static method, it's okay. It is possible using class name followed by dot operator and that method or method name or variable name. So this is the speciality of static method. Now next thing is nested class and inner classes. Again same concept of C++. Nested means one inside another, isn't it? Inner class means one class inside another class, something like that. Okay, let us see what the statements they have given. So it is possible to define a class with another class. Such classes are known as nested class. Okay, the scope of nested class is bounded by the scope of its enclosing class. So the scope is very important. Understanding the scope is very important in nested classes. Okay, so it is something like if you are declaring any variable inside the for loop, it is valid for only that that scope. Outside the scope it is not available, isn't it? You will get an error, say undefined some variable name. So in the same fashion for class also, the scope of nested class is bounded by the scope of its enclosing class. So it is only valid inside that particular class itself. Outside that, no, you cannot access it. Okay, there are two types of nested classes. One is a static and another one is non-static class. A static nested class is one which has the static modifier applied. Okay, because it is static, it must access the members of its enclosing class through an object. So here when you go for static classes, so it must access the members of its enclosing class through an object. So you have to use object at that time. Okay, because here it is a static class. You have the concept of static class and non-static class when it comes for nested class and or inner class concept. Okay, now syntax you can see class Java outer class. Inside that again you have Java class Java inner class. So you have one class inside the another class. So now you can see some advantages of Java inner classes. So there are basically three main advantages they have listed out there. The first one is nested classes represent a special type of relationship that is it can access all the members of outer class including private. This is a special thing, okay, because private members are not accessed outside the class. That is the thing whatever I have said in the previous video, isn't it? What access modifiers, but it doesn't make any sense when you go for nested classes. See, that is the reason why they said so inner class has the capacity to access all the data members and member functions along with member methods. I should not be using function keyword because it is good habit to it's a good habit when you use the method keyword instead of saying function. Okay, so data members or methods, data members and the class of the methods you can access along with the private variables, private members also. So inner class has that capacity. The next thing is nested classes are used to develop more readable and maintainable code because it logically group classes and interfaces in one place only. Because when you go for this nested class concept, so it is very easy for maintenance, isn't it? Readability and maintenance increases. Why? Because everything is one inside the another. It is like a box. In one big box you have, inside the big box you have a smaller box, inside the smaller box again you have one more smaller box. So it will be it will look like a compact one, isn't it? It's a fixed one, it's a tighter one. So the same fashion for the coding also, it will be very easy for the coder or the developer to work on it. And as well as you don't need to go for more specifiers, because even you use private variables from one class, the inner class has the capacity to access it, isn't it? So that is the second thing. The third thing is code optimization. It requires less code to write. That is the reason why I said compact. Okay, it looks like a compact code. With the lesser thing you can work more, you can go for more. So ultimately the optimization will be, the level of optimization will be increased. So this is the concept of nested class or inner class. Okay, so you have one example here. So you have one class called outer demo. Okay, inside that outer demo you have one variable of type integer. So the variable name is num. Okay, now you have one more class, private class inner demo. So now the class has become private, it is not a public one. Okay, private one. So inside the private class you have one method called print. Inside the print method you are trying to print, this is an inner class. That's it. Okay, now after that you have one method called display inner. So inside the display inner, what you are going to do, you are going to create one object for inner underscore demo class. What is that inner underscore demo class? It is a private class, isn't it? Now using that inner object you are going to call print method, which is available inside the inner underscore demo class. Can you see? So this is what I was just trying to say. Okay, now after that what you are going to do, you are going to create one more class, public class, using my underscore class. Inside that you have one main method. Inside the main method what you are going to do, you are going to create one object for outer underscore demo. So outer is the object name. Now once you create the object, you are trying to call display underscore inner method using that object. So now what happens when you call display underscore inner method, the control will directly come to display underscore inner method, and inside that you are going to create the object for the above class, which is that class inner underscore demo, and you are going to call using that object, you are going to call print method. Obviously the output will be, this is an inner class, you are going to call like that. Okay, but what you have done here inside the main method, you have created only one method for outer demo class. You are not even touching inner demo class, but using the method which is available inside the outer demo class, you will be able to use the inner underscore demo class, and you are accessing the print method. Now I have one question. Can you access inner underscore demo class from main method? Is it possible? Or if you create one object for inner underscore demo inside main method, it is possible? It is actually not possible. Why? The class is private. Outside the outer demo class, you cannot access the inner underscore demo class. It is not at all possible because the class itself private. You cannot take the private class, but by default if the class is protected, it is possible because it is in the same package, isn't it? In the previous video I said whenever you have protected, it can be accessed from the same class as well as in the same method, same package. And if the subclasses are there, some outside the package also you can access, but it should be the child class of that particular protected thing. This is the difference. That is the reason why I said the access modifiers, whatever the access modifiers you have, it should be very clear to you. Otherwise it will be very difficult for you to get the inherited things, or you cannot borrow the already ready-made codes for your program. It is not possible because you don't know the concept of public, private and protected, isn't it? That is the reason why I said. Okay, now in this case, so you cannot directly access inner underscore demo from main method because inner underscore demo class is a private one. So inside the outer underscore demo class itself, it can be accessible. That's the thing. Okay, so this is one of the example. I request you to execute this program as well. Try out these programs. Otherwise, just by looking at this, it is not easy for you to understand or grasp the thing because you have so many concepts to see, isn't it? That's why I said like this. Okay, now you have one more concept called variable arguments, or varargs. Varargs, okay, in Java. So what is variable argument? So it is somewhat tricky concept because as of now I don't think you would have seen such kind of concepts in previous programming language or in Java also. Okay, now we will see what are this VAR ARGS. Okay, now in JDK 5, it's a version of JDK or Java Development Kit. Java has included a feature that simplifies the creation of methods that need to take a variable number of arguments. Okay, this feature is called VARARGS, and it is a short form for variable length arguments. Okay, so when you go for VARARGS, it is a short form for variable length arguments. A method that takes a variable number of arguments is a VARARGS method. Prior to JDK 5, variable length arguments could be handled in two ways. One is using overloaded method. So in the previous video we have seen method overloading, because if you are going for a different kind of parameters and with the different data types, you should be using method overloading. Okay, now and another put the arguments into an array. So that also possible. Using array also you should be able to do that, and then pass this array to the method. Both of them are potentially error prone and require more code. The VARGS feature offers a simpler and better option. That is true, because when you go for method loading, that means you have to create more methods with the different arguments and different code set and all. But when you go for this particular thing, variable length arguments, so you don't need to work much on that, but still in writing the code inside that is a tricky thing. Because say for example, if you are going for draw method and even though you go for variable length arguments, how exactly you are going to deal inside the code? Again, there will be somewhat tricky, but it is better option actually. When you go for, instead of going for method overloading, it is better to go for variable length arguments concept. That is nothing but VARARGS. Fine. Now you can see the syntax over there. It is public static void func. Inside the parameter list, what you have, int followed by 3 dots followed by a. You have one a. Next you have method body. Now how exactly it works we will see in the next slide. So here the syntax tells the compiler that fun can be called with the 0 or more arguments. Okay, as a result here is implicitly declared as an array of type int. That means whatever the a you have seen there, it is a kind of array. Implicitly by default it understands that it is an array, and each and every arguments you pass, it will consider it as an array concept. So this is with respect to that fun concept. Now you can see the example here. So you have one class called test1. Okay, now after the test1, what you have one static method with the name fun. And after inside the fun, what are the parameter? It is nothing but int followed by 3 dots and a. That is the syntax. You have to understand, it is a syntax. You have to write the code in the same fashion. So it is somewhat different syntax. It is a new syntax. I don't think till now you would have seen this kind of code before. So that is the reason why I will take somewhat time to explain this, because it is something new to you. Rest of the things, definitely whatever the concept you have learned, apart from for each loop as well as bytecode, rest of the things are same in whatever the things you have learned in C++, and some of the data types and operators are available in C also. But in Java, when it comes for Java, for each somewhat different concept, as well as bytecode is somewhat different, as well as this particular thing, variable length argument. Okay, now how exactly you can use that variable length arguments? Here, see, let us see. So inside the fun method, what you have, system.out.println, number of arguments, that plus a dot length. So length is a keyword actually. Okay, it is a predefined keyword, so it will directly get the length of the argument list. Now a is having the argument list, isn't it? Implicitly a is nothing but an array, isn't it? So after that, what you have for loop, for inside the bracket int I colon a. That's it. Now this is nothing but a for each loop. That means from 0th index to last index of a, it will be printed. That is the meaning. Okay, so it is a speciality of for each loop. It will access each and every data present in a particular array. Okay, now what you are going to do, system.out.println I plus one space. Now whatever the value of a of 0 will sit in I for the first iteration, a of 1 value present in array will sit in I for the second iteration, a of 2 will sit in I for the third iteration, a of 4 will sit in I for the fifth iteration. Same, the loop goes on like this until and unless you get the last index of array. And you are going for system.out.println. So instead of going for two separate lines, you would have used only one line, system.out.println followed by I plus and double quotes. That's it. Okay, so this will finish the class test one. Now from main method, what you are doing, so you come to main method. So as this is static method, you don't need to create the object, isn't it? You are not creating the object here. Directly you can call. Why? Because the method is static. I already said static methods need not require objects. And in this case, you don't need to call, you don't need to use the class name also. Why? Because inside the test one itself, you have static method as well as main method. You don't need to call, you don't need to use the class name also, because in the previous example, what we have done, we had two separate classes, isn't it? One class is for main method, another class is for general example. So that is the reason why we used class name dot method name. But in this case, we are not using class name also. Directly we are calling fun method. Why? Because in single class you have a static method of fun also, you have main method also. So you don't need to use the class name itself. Directly you can call the function or method name. So what you are doing, you are passing 100 to fun, and in the second line you are passing 1, 2, 3, 4 to fun. In the last line you are not at all passing anything. Again you are calling fun. So the first example with the 1 parameter, second example with the 4 parameters, and third with the no parameter. So with the same method name, you are passing 3 different values. Now how exactly this code will act, we will see. So for the first iteration, a of 0 will have 100, isn't it? The same thing will be printed. Length of a dot length will be you are going to print as 100. Next, for the second iteration, what is that? Length will be 4 and value will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, for the last method, length will be 0 and value also will be 0. You don't have anything to print. So this is what output you are going to get if you execute this program. I request you to try this program because it's somewhat different, isn't it? I don't think you would have seen this syntax, static void fun followed by int and space 3 dots a. I am pretty sure you don't have seen this kind of code. So I request you to execute this program. Ultimately, you are using variable length arguments with the same method name. So it is somewhat the alternative for method overloading, isn't it? Because here, see, you are calling 3 times the same method but with the different arguments, but you did not write the code for that. Directly you are using some 3 dots and a and followed by for each loop. That's it. You are accessing each and everything. Correct? So this is how variable length argument concept works. Okay, so I request everyone to execute this. If you have any doubt, you can get back to me. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching. Let me wind up the video here. Thank you.